So we have Mr. Chris Gregor, recently convicted of aggravated manslaughter against his son, Corey Micciolo. Now, in the wake of all of this, Breanna Micciolo almost immediately goes on a victory lap. When I tell you, I think she had a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of things that she wasn't able to just to keep the trial as safe as possible with the best outcome for her as possible. Now that this thing is over and we only have sentencing basically left, she went directly to an interview, baby. She went straight to an interview. So, shout out Guilty of Crime. They're the ones who got this interview, and we're going to go ahead and check this thing out. I covered it over on stream the other day, and it's really good, guys. We get basically the dirty details of everything. How Chris was, how they interacted the night of Corey's inception, all the stuff, people. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and play it. It's insightful. So get the things you guys need, man, and get ready for a roller coaster. This interview, I watched a good portion of it. It's really insightful. So let's go ahead and check this thing out, man. I hope you guys are having a great evening.
We've seen you in chat the whole time, and everybody's been fangirling, so to speak. Rebecca's in chat. Rebecca's in chat. So I know it's not that type of situation. It's a very sad situation, but the crime crew and all of us and myself are here for you today to lend my platform. And so I want to introduce everybody. This is
Thanks for the
Bree
membership, Suzanne.
and Rebecca Micciolo. And the first thing I want to let you all know before we get into everything is that Bree has been clean and sober since February 2021. She's very brave to tell it. She's been clean. All the misconceptions that you've heard in court and all the things going around, very untrue. And getting clean is hard to do. I know.
Oh yeah.
All right. All right, Bree. You're on. You tell your story from 2014, when it happened and what you want to go for.
Yeah. So I wanted to start with, in court, like everyone was only able to hear like what happened from like March 20th to April 2nd. So people just think Chris did this from this time to that, but he's been doing this. He was abusive from the beginning, 2019. Where should I start my story? 2014. I don't do this often, so sorry if I'm,
I think yesterday we talked about it and you started how you met Chris. That would probably be the best place to start because that's where it all started, right?
Right.
The day you met him and what the heck he did.
Yo, what's up, Barbara? How you doing? Shout out to everybody who's just joining in.
He's an evil man, by the way, which you already know.
Yeah. So I won't forget the day. I never will. It was July 31st, 2014. Or 13, I'm sorry, 2013. And me and my friend, we were home, and my parents, like no one was home. They were on a vacation somewhere. And me and my friend were like, oh, we want to have people over. And she said she knew somebody and he could get us alcohol. And, he's 21. So she invited him over with a few friends. And there was a few people there. And Chris knew my age because I went to school with his brother, who was actually
and you were 16. Just clear this up. You were 16. He was 21.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. That's all. I missed that part.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't say perfect, but
yeah, he knew how old I was because I went to school with his brother, who was a year older, so he was 17. And so they came over, and he brought a bunch of alcohol. We were drinking, and I could tell, he was interested in me, but...
So it was Chris and his brother. I mean, bro, from the time you're buying alcohol for a bunch of underage girls, you're weird, big dog. Just in case you didn't know, you're a weird You're bringing alcohol for little girls? What type of shit is this? Now, I wonder how old her friend was. But if Breanna was friends with her friend at the time, then we all know that they're probably both like 16, bruh. Well, how old was your friend? 16, 17? And Gregor was like, oh, yeah, I'm 21. I'll bring all the booze over. Bro, you're fucking weird. What's up, Mary? Bruh, what's up, Teos? How you doing? This is some predator shit because you already know how young. I mean, that might be, it might be sexist to say, but I feel like girls who don't be drinking that much, they already get kind of loosey goosey. All right, and that's a grown ass woman. Now you're giving this to a fucking child, a 16-year-old who probably don't even know what the fuck to do with herself when she under the influence like that. You know, when you get older, man or female, you kind of know your limits. You know how to move when you're kind of fucked up. You know how to stumble your way to the bedroom, stumble your way back to the car, whatever. No 16-year-old is gonna be able to do that. So from the start, he's already like, "Yep, I'm gonna get me some cheeks, and this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take them. I'm gonna steal them," which is fucking crazy, bro. Who even? What type of a man? Anyways, let's continue. What type of a man thinks
But
like
I
that?
wasn't. So he just kept like kind of feeding me drinks. And then at
Fucking my
one point,
papers.
he gave me a water bottle and it had like, it was like orange juice. And I thought it was like vodka because, orange juice vodka. I later found out it wasn't. I was told it was Molly. I don't know 100% what was in it. But after that, everything I kind of just like blacked out. I don't remember much. And the reason I know that, he did anything to me was because the next day he texted me like, "Hey babe." And I'm like,
Hey, babe.
why would he be, that's weird. And then like we had this conversation. He was telling me like we had sex. I was like, I wouldn't have done that. I was not interested in you. And I was incapacitated. There's no way. I don't remember anything.
Right.
So that's how that started.
That was already against the law from the beginning.
I bet you Chris was like, "Yeah, well, you're being a whore last night. Yeah, you're all on top of me. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you see, he already had that shit on him. And where? See, my question is, where do you even go to get some shit like that? That was not Molly. I will say, if you're passing the fuck out, Molly keeps you awake. To be honest, at least in my experience, you're not fucking going. You're not blacking out on no Molly. You're fucking amped. You're fucking like eyes wide the fuck open. You wanna do shit. That was not. That wasn't no Molly. He fucking gave her some date rape shit. 100%. 100%. She would be having a good time on Molly, and she would have probably remembered fucking him and probably regretted it, but she would have remembered it because she was so tweaked up on the sauce. You know what I'm saying? Bro came. So when she says I heard it was Molly, it was probably his brother or somebody who just told her that to try like shh, just hush it down. You were being a slut because you're on the drugs. When lo and behold, he's on some demon shit.
For him to be that age, he could have already went to jail for that. And then yeah, it could have been Molly, or it could have been any of those the date drugs that they call
Yeah.
date drug. We're no filter here today. The date
Yeah.
drugs that where you pass out, because if you don't remember anything, I mean, I'm
That's
on
not
national
Molly.
stage. Yes, y'all, you see my tattoos. I've done Molly before, okay?
And
Yeah.
that's
And
not
Molly doesn't make me, it doesn't make you black out. And so there
Right.
it
It
could have
does
been
the
it could have been
opposite.
GHB or one of those. GHB makes more sense. I've been in the tattoo world for 25 years. I've seen it all, folks. So GHB sounds like something he did.
You're
He
so
mixed with
innocent.
alcohol, and she didn't even know.
No, I just do what I know works for me. I do psychedelics and ganja. I don't do that none of that bullshit. GHB, what the fuck is GHB? Yeah, no, thank you. Give me a mushroom. I'll chew on a mushroom with you. You know what I'm saying?
And then he's one of the narcissistic people that, hey babe, how's it going? Yeah, it was great sex. Don't
GHB
you
isn't
remember?
intense.
Want a
Right.
date now? Right. So
And
go
that's
ahead.
exactly how it went. After that, still knowing that I'm a 16-year-old, at what 10 I was in 10th grade probably around that time,
Unbelievable.
and he's in college. I don't know, what year, but
Yeah.
and he wanted to date me. He was obsessing and texting me and trying to come to my house, and I wasn't interested, and I think that he's a narcissist. He thinks he's above everybody and he's this hot shit.
Yep.
And he was like, "Oh wow, why wouldn't she want me? Look at me." Like that's the type of person he is. And I think that's where, his hatred for me started because I rejected him.
You did reject him. And also, I think he was a
GHB is like Quaaludes. Oh, I've heard of Quaaludes. She sounds like she's sluggish now. One thing I will say about him, the whole idea around Chris was that he didn't like her because she was a drugged out piece of shit. right? But lo and behold, he's over here chasing behind her, trying to come to her house. Like, bro, this is some real desperate ass male shit right here. Like, let me tell you something to all the ladies out here. Let me tell you something. A normal male is never gonna think about this stuff. It doesn't even it doesn't even cross your mind. It like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out and I'm finna just give her some GHB and I'm gonna get some pussy like that. No, like normal dudes, like I feel like I'm gonna go to jail if that thought even passes my mind, bro. That bro has been weird. And this, if it wasn't Breanna, it would have been somebody else. This was already a plan. It don't matter if it's fucking Breanna or some other 15-year-old, 16-year-old girl. Bro is gonna be out there with the GHB supplying the man. Like he's not gonna play with it. Just so you guys know, regular dudes don't do this shit. All
A
right, I'll
little
be back.
scared since he did have sex without you wanting to do that.
Yeah.
He had sex with you and he was like, "Oh, I could take advantage of this young girl and if she dates me, she's not going to say anything." But then he came out, and you are very pretty, just
Thank
saying,
you.
you're a very pretty woman. And of course, he would want to date you, but he's a monster. He probably drove a nice car, was in college, and could get anyone he wanted. And he wanted you because you can control someone that's 16. But you had a
Yeah.
boyfriend, correct? You had a
Yeah.
boyfriend. You weren't interested in him. And you
Correct.
wouldn't have had sex with him that night willingly. You don't even remember it,
Absolutely
right?
not. No.
Absolutely not.
Okay. And that was the night Corey was conceived, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody. Now you know. Now you've heard it. Okay. You can.
So after that, I found out I was pregnant about a few weeks later.
Scared the shit out of
Um,
him.
I didn't tell him right away because I didn't want him involved because of the person he was. He was truly disgusting, So I didn't tell him, but he found out I was probably around like 8 months pregnant. And, we live in the same town. His brother knows people I know. So it got to him that I was pregnant. So I told him, yes, I'm pregnant. Yes, it's your kid. And he just went off and I can't afford a kid. I don't want a kid. Why didn't you get an abortion? So,
Of course, you would say that.
Of course.
right.
Come on.
And it was already too late. It was too late by
I was
then,
eight
but you
months
had
pregnant.
decided, yeah,
Yeah.
but you already wanted to have a baby. I mean, a lot of women do want children and they don't want abortion. So I commend you for that. And it looks like your mom's your good support system.
Oh yeah, so I went to you. I went to her and I told her I was pregnant. I didn't tell her who it was by,
Right.
because she didn't know who Chris was anyway. And we like made a decision that they would help me raise Corey. And I wanted Corey. I always did.
Yeah, he's a beautiful little boy. He still is. He's a little angel. I can't. It's hard to refer to him in the past tense. I know
It
he's not
is.
here, but he was absolutely beautiful, and I see it in your daughter as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss, and there's nothing more I can say except I'm sorry for your loss. I listened to everything I could in the trial, and I know they cut a lot out. So you can, if you want to continue from there,
Yeah.
how he was conceived, and then you didn't have him in his life for a long time, and then what happened? I mean, or tell us whatever you want.
Yeah. So I had Corey May 1st, 2014.
Oh, he's a May baby.
I remember getting a text from Chris, and he said he wanted a picture of Corey. So I did send him one, and he was like, "Oh my God, he looks like me," or something. And
Shit, there was your chance to be a father right there. I mean, yeah, you raped her. You did all this negative shit to her, but hey, guess what? She's clearly not going to tell the police on you. And, you have a son now. Why not get a new leaf? Why not try something honorable? But nah. Nope. Just times two the amount of negative you are, and just go ahead and start beating up the baby. Like, bro literally got a second chance because most people would be in jail for that. If her family was any type of family or like Gregor's family, who the Mr. Big Police Sergeant, Mr. State Trooper, he would have been in jail.
he ended up coming over, right?
He came to the house the night you were discharged from the hospital after giving birth.
Oh, wow.
So no, in the trial, it seems like, I was just like money hungry and I wanted his money. So I went after him for child support or something.
That's what I thought.
And he had no idea he had a child. And, I laid it on him when he was 4 or 5 years old. That's the opposite of the truth.
Thank you. It did sound like that. And I had people saying that to me, and I wanted to clear that up, that's not true at all.
Yeah. No, he knew when
So
I was
he came
pregnant.
over.
He saw him when he was born. And then there was a few times like he came by, but it wasn't to see Corey. He was obsessed with me so much that can I see him? But it was to come see me. He didn't interact with Corey.
No, he ignored him.
Yeah.
And, I just want to.
Yeah, I told
him
him
for a minute.
Yeah.
I actually did meet Chris the summer that Corey was conceived, because he came creeping back to the house with kid with the curls, the friend of his. And me being typical me, I went outside because I didn't know who this guy was in my backyard with my daughter and her friends. And I introduced myself. I don't remember what he told me his name was, but when I said, "Where are you from?" he told me South Brunswick, which was a lie.
And he lied about his age.
He was from Monroe. He told me he was 18. And
well, of course.
So I take that
of course. Like, okay, you're still obsessed with this woman's daughter. You don't want the baby. So obviously you don't want them to know where you live so they could, hit you with child support, brother. Come on. And then, of course, you did the foul shit with her. You assaulted her. You can't let them know your age. Like, this is all obvious. Like,
then he was already making his, I don't know.
He's a predator. He always has been.
He was already, he was lying and making excuses and just not a nice person.
So and he wanted what he wanted. Yeah, he wanted what he wanted. He came over. He knew you to say, get off my property. If you knew he was a 21-year-old man that had actually, the true word is, had sex without her consent, and then Corey was conceived. She didn't want to be with him. He shouldn't even have came on your property. She wanted nothing to do with him. But then I'm glad you cleared up that he did see Corey when you were discharged, which was 20? You didn't have a C-section, did you?
No, it was natural. So it was like 24 hours.
Yeah, maybe
24. Yeah. Okay, so he came over the next day, saw the baby, more interested in you.
Oh yeah, didn't even acknowledge him.
Actually, we took the baby upstairs to our room while he was there, because when I went downstairs and saw this
Breanna Micciolo, my daughter is 100% clean. Ooh, I wonder if that is Rebecca.
Guy sitting on the couch, I think I said to Breanna, "What the hell's he doing here?" And she told me he was doing her math homework for her. Okay, because I just didn't understand. And I mean, a lot of her friends came over to see the baby, so I thought, okay, still not knowing what had happened. But he had no interest in looking at Corey, because we took Corey up to our room, so he wasn't there for Corey.
And we could see the disdain in his eyes in different pictures in different circumstances. I mean, that treadmill video, luckily, luck got that on camera, right? But I'm sure there was many other times.
Oh yeah, and I definitely want to talk about that, because
please,
a lot of people don't realize that video was obtained by CPS, like you call them, or DCPMP in New Jersey. They obtained that video and watched that video a week before Corey passed. And I don't know what their reasoning behind not removing Corey from his care was, but, we all saw the video, and that would be plenty for anybody, you would think, to be like that he's abusing him. So,
yeah. I mean, when that came out to the world, what do you mean? The whole world was like, wait, what? People couldn't even watch that. And I mean, I couldn't imagine a judge or anybody that's making a decision watch that video, and then they could have put him in a foster home if they didn't want to give him anything.
That's what I have always said. If they really thought I was such a bad person, which I wasn't, and they just felt like, and I was teen at this time, so I'm like, it didn't make sense. But even give him to you.
Give him,
anybody, but the monster.
And that wasn't the first treadmill incident. He had abused Corey on the treadmill prior. So
listen, guys, it's crazy. If this treadmill video wasn't leaked or revealed or shown, who fucking knows what would have happened, bro? The video immediately made my stomach drop. It's crazy. When I first saw it, I was on stream. I turned it off. I was like, I don't want to watch that. And then I went through the case and I was like, oh, we need to cover it. But if that video wasn't shown, who knows? It was just weird to me that deliberating took so long. I thought that when they did that shit, they're just gonna go to the back, take an hour, come back out. Next thing you know, they're taking forever. So who knows? If they didn't have that video and it was just pointing fingers here and there, like, oh, the drug mom, and oh, the dad with the nice parents, the dad with the state trooper, with the state trooper grandfather, who are you gonna believe? Shit could have been real fucked up. So luckily that video existed. And everybody shout out Rebecca, man. Show her some love. Hearts for Rebecca. I appreciate you for joining in.
He's going to get to that, but
yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So he came around a few times, very, just to be around me, I think. And then I think it was around 2018 when was it 2018 when I went and filed for cash assistance and food stamps. And at that point is when they asked me, like, what's their father's name, Corey's father's name. So I gave them Christopher's name, not thinking they were gonna start a big court case and sue him for child support and any money that they gave me in food stamps or whatever. That's essentially what they did.
Right. That's what they do in California too, by the way. And some people will say they don't know, but you don't think about that, especially when the guy had been coming around. It's not like he was just absent. So yeah, just tell him the name. No.
Yeah, and I was young. I mean, I was like very young, 20, 21 when, like maybe 20. So I didn't know anything. I didn't know how, they went and got child support.
I think you did exactly what you should have done. In hindsight now, you would have said, I don't know who it was. If you could take it all back, absolutely. I'm sure. Yeah. But we can't predict the future. And that's what you did, exactly all the things you were supposed to do. And they didn't. Can I ask you real quick, in between the time that you had Corey and then filed for, assistance, how many times had Corey come back around? Not Corey, Chris come back around?
2 or 3 times?
A couple of times. We had moved to Florida, and I guess Chris was going to school in Florida, probably about 2 hours, 3 hours away from where we lived. And I was still working in New Jersey. So my husband called me one night and he said, that big kid's here, the one. And he's like, what the hell is he doing here? I said, I don't know. Ask him. I'm up here. You're down there, And I found out from
the big fucking roid rage baby. That's fucking crazy. Gregor looks like a oversized toddler with anger issues. Do you notice that? And his face, when you take steroids, it kind of alters your face, right? Like, hold on. Take for example, Larry Wheels, right? Look at his jawline. Look at this shit. It's actually quite impressive how steroids changes you. You see that shit? This is a good example, but you see how he almost looks like he aged hella fast, and his chin just like that. All right, now look at Chris Gregor with his fucking dad bod with his fucking belly. He's over here taking roids and has a belly. Fucking terrible. Look at his chin. You see how it's growing, like his head is like a fucking basketball? He on them roids, bro. Like he was in college and he was probably doing that shit. Box-headed ass, Roblox looking ass, man-child.
I was still working in New Jersey, so my husband called me one night and he said, that big kid's here, the one. And he's like, what the hell is he doing here? I said, I don't know. Ask him. I'm up here. You're down there, And I found out from my younger daughter that Chris had come there and took Breanna. I think Nicole went also. They went to Walgreens to get paternity tests because Chris thought you could go to Walgreens, get this paternity test, swab your mouth, and wait for the results like a pregnancy test. And he thought that's what he was going to do. And when he realized you couldn't do that, then
So he didn't want to pay the money to get a paternity test at that point. He didn't have money. He had his parents' money, but He didn't realize that you swabbed and then sent it out to the lab, and that's an extra $100. Right. So when he realized it was that much, he's like, "Oh, I'm not doing that." And that was 2015, probably.
Yeah, and he came another time when I was there. Remember, we all went out to lunch or dinner. Yeah. And Breanna was trying to get.
Thank you for the gifted membership, Lisa. I appreciate you. Shout out to Nurse Bev who got that shit, man. Shout her out. Shout her out. Shout her out.
The stroller out of the back of the car. And he didn't even try to help. He just stood there. And then he was flirting with the waitress in the restaurant that we went to. He was just disgusting.
Yeah. So I would say like a total of like 2 or 3, maybe 4 times. It was like it wasn't a lot. Right.
But it clears up. Yeah. It clears that all up that you just dump some kid on him and you're money hungry. Now I'm going to let you talk. Go for it. It's all you. Yeah. People are like, let her talk. And I'm like, I'm letting her talk, but I'm helping her through the timeline, folks. So if you don't want to be on here, don't.
Yeah, all right. I appreciate it.
Yeah, all right, go for it.
So filed for, the food stamps, or I applied, whatever. And that's when he had to go to court and get a paternity test. And he ignored the request for like a really long time. But then eventually the judge is like, we're going to put a warrant out if you don't take this test. So eventually he did. And then that's when he started having to pay child support. And that took forever. And then the judge had to start taking it from his paychecks to actually, get the child support. He wasn't willingly paying.
Right.
And then once that started happening, I think that's when he went and told mommy and daddy that
he was running out of money.
That's why they didn't know. But Chris knew since day one,
Well, I mean, I think the paperwork from the court had gone to their house and they asked Chris about it and he lied and said, oh, it's just some girl, whatever. It's not me. It wasn't mine. Not mine.
Right. Of course. Narcissistic.
Yeah.
All right. So now we start from the time.
Okay.
Where.
Yeah. So it took a while for him to start actually wanting to see Corey, aka David Gregor, wanting him to see Corey. So his first visit was probably like 2019.
I think it was.
Yeah, like his actual first court order visitation was in like 2019.
With the grandparents, though. Because remember, grandparents made him do it, and at some point, the grandparents had oversee over the child every time he went over there. So it was kind of like a little supervised situation. That must have been all fine and dandy. It was when he was alone with the kid. It's like his demons came out. And it's like, bro, he's 6. Like, what is he supposed to be doing? Like, what could make you so angry with little bro? Like,
I think it was the second visit. The first thing happened. I think the first one was like, okay. Like, it was kind of weird because Corey came home and like told us they gave him a bath and they cleaned him and they cleaned under his fingernails. And I'm like, I thought it was strange that these people that don't know him, he's 5 years old, they put him in a bathtub. They made him get naked in front of him. Like that's weird. That's uncomfortable for a 5-year-old. So I thought that was weird. That's the first thing that strikes me as like, there's something wrong with these people.
Wait, hold on.
Get in front of him.
So they go to what was he unclean because he came from her dirty? Hold on.
Because Corey came home and like told us they gave him a bath.
Hold on, let me back it up. Too much. Too little.
Okay.
Where
so it took a while for him to start actually wanting to see Corey, aka David Gregor, wanting him to see Corey. So his first visit was probably like 2019.
I think it was.
Yeah, like his actual first court order visitation was in like 2019.
But I want to know if this is with his grandparents or if this is with, I think it's with his grandparents. Hold on.
And I think it was the second visit. The first thing happened. I think the first one was like, okay. Like, it was kind of weird because Corey came home and like told us they gave him a bath and they cleaned him and they cleaned under his fingernails. And I'm like, I thought it was strange that these people that don't know him, he's 5 years old, they put him in a bathtub. They made him get naked in front of him. Like, that's weird. That's uncomfortable for a 5-year-old. So I thought that was weird. That's the first thing that strikes me as like, there's something wrong with these people.
Prior to that first court-ordered visit, Chris came to Corey's school when we lived in Lake Apatcong, and picked him
Nah,
up.
but she said these people. You said it's Chris. Oh, Rebecca said that it was Chris. The fuck? So it's okay. Because you would think maybe grandparents, they be getting a little weird, you know, like they'll be like, all right, let's watch the little feller. I don't know. But your fucking dad and you're just meeting your son for the first time, so you want to give him his space? Like that's weird as shit. He must have been looking for something. Like let's see if she I don't know why he would do something like that. Anyways, continuing.
He wanted to take him out, and I wouldn't let him by himself. And the only reason we allowed him to do it was because he had his girlfriend with him, and she had a child, but the child wasn't with them. So he saw Corey once in June of 19 before court-ordered visits started. And then I explained to him, because he wouldn't talk to Breanna.
I wouldn't talk to him,
and
at that
she didn't
point.
want to. So I was the person that did. So I said, Chris, if you're doing this, and this again is not,
and she doesn't know what happened.
I didn't know he raped her.
Yeah.
No, am I allowed to say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you say whatever you want.
I didn't know what happened, So
Right.
here I'm trying to be the good person and think, well, gosh, Corey can have another set of grandparents. He can, Corey wanted a dad. What kid doesn't? Kids would get picked up by their dad from school or daycare. Corey wanted to know where his dad was, So I thought, well, let's see if this can work. So anyway, he came that time in June, and I said, if you're going to do this, you're going to be consistent. You're not coming, and then we don't see you again.
Man, I wish he came once and they never saw him again.
Oh, no. I'm going to make it right. What I said, okay. And so then.
And this is the point where, his lawyer talks about how he came from Maryland to save the day because he wanted to be a father. This is like the point we're at when he came from Maryland back to New Jersey.
Yeah, but he didn't come here because he wanted to be a father to Corey. He had nowhere else to go because he was terminated from his teaching job. But
that too.
You can talk about that if you want, but
yeah, there's a lot. So the second visit he had with Corey, he dropped Corey off. It was dark out, and I got inside with Corey, and he had like blood on his shirt. And I'm saying, "What happened, Corey?" And then I looked at his lip, and it was swollen, and he had like a little cut. He was very like afraid. He didn't want to talk about it. We had to take him to the police station, and he still wouldn't admit to anything. But the police did call CPS. They made their own call. And then Corey got home, and he actually went to my sister and told my sister that Chris smacked him or hit him in his mouth because he cursed. So,
and this was time number 2, visit number 2.
Time. Yeah.
Jesus.
And I have pictures of it, and DCP&P, they come and they investigate. And they're like, well,
They're not in the business to save kids. CPS is trash. Yeah, they're seriously, honestly, they're not in the business to save kids. They're here to place kids that's dumped onto them. They're there to place them around the system and report kids that get killed. Like, they don't go in there like CPS, oh, let's save the kid before something happens. No, they don't do that, bro. I'm convinced that that's just something written down to kind of make you feel good about yourself. That's not how it works, bro. They're there to document after the child's dead. 100%. They're documented. This is how it happened. These were all the warning signs. These were all the 100 calls. You see? Now that we can prove it in court, these were the 100 calls that she made. There's proof. But he's dead now. We didn't do anything because, no. This happens time and time again. It's state after state. Nobody cares. Which is why you need to, it needs to be more of like a statewide, a countrywide thing. It can't be state by state. That's just obviously not working.
Went to Chris, we talked to him and his father, David, and, David told us.
Yeah, I'm not saying all CPS workers. It's not the work, it's the system. And I don't know, even the agents. I remember the Harmony Montgomery case. The CPS agent, I'm not saying all of them are bad. He went up there. He didn't even know what the fuck he was talking about. He couldn't remember shit. And I know it's been a few years, and I know you have to refer to your notes, but every question they asked him, refer to the notes. Oh, I don't remember. Oh, I don't know. Oh, let me see the notes. I must have said that. And That's not the isolated incident. That happens all the time. But, I guess the kids don't matter. That's why you honestly, as a parent, sometimes you gotta take shit into your own hands. I don't know, because CPS is not it.
He saw him accidentally kick him in the face when he went to kick a soccer ball. Corey's face was in the way. So, that makes sense, right? Like, and they were fine with that answer. And I didn't believe that. I never did. And then the next time was probably like a month and a half later. This is the first incident with the treadmill. So this is in 2020 or 2019 still. I think it was October 2019.
Yeah, maybe.
And I picked Corey up from school, and I think he slept over Chris's that night, and I picked him up, and Chris dropped him off at school, and then I picked him up from school. And I see Corey has this big, like right here, it's huge, like just scrape or like abrasion, I guess. And
right.
He also, it looked like he had like a handprint mark on his face. And then he had, it was all down his like side. And I'm like, Corey, what happened? Like, what happened now? And he was like, oh, my dad made me run on the treadmill because I'm too fat.
That's where that came from. Okay.
That's not okay. You can't put he was 5 at this time.
Yeah.
So it started when he was 5. You can't put a 5-year-old on a treadmill. He's never been on one.
This is his own insecurity projecting itself. If you didn't see insecurities projecting itself, there it is. There's a fine example, folks. A very fine example. What I keep making fun of during the trial, I'm just like, oh, he's kind of fat. He's working out. He got these little muscles or whatever, but his belly is really out there. He's kind of fat, y'all. Making jokes about it. Lo and behold, he's over here telling the kid he's fat. The kid is like fucking 80, 60, 50 fucking pounds, bro. How is he fat? If he's fat, make him go outside and play. Take him off the iPad. That's how you make him work out. He's projecting, bro. Fat ass is telling his kid he's fat. Imagine what he would tell his girlfriend.
And, so.
What's up, Vikings?
I call DCPMP again. I tell them what happened. And then Corey admits to it, and Chris also admits to it. Yeah, I put him on the treadmill. He is fat. She feeds him too much McDonald's. Oh, okay. And they told me, they said, we told him he can't put him on the treadmill anymore. That's not okay. And that was it.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. Like, just, please don't put him on again. Don't do that.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's going to listen.
Before we move further, can you just tell me why he got fired from being a teacher? Just real quick. I don't want to distract you, but
I believe he had a marijuana mail order business, and he got caught.
Okay.
Is that really?
That's a fact.
I don't know.
That's a fact.
Okay. Somebody had asked, and we were upset.
On that note, he had a marijuana mail order business. What does that mean? You order it through the mail? Is that what that means? What the fuck? So he must have been selling it to the students.
People were upset that he was even a teacher or a crisis hotline counselor, and he's abusing your son and doing that and being a teacher to other people.
Teaching children, yeah.
And teaching children.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
It's disgusting.
So every time so far, it seems like he's visited, there's been abuse.
Yeah, and I think, DCPMP goes and visits his house, and like they live in a mansion, $1 million home. His dad's a cop or a retired cop, and his mom just walks around and just listens to everybody. She doesn't have a mind of her own, so she just goes with what everyone else says. So they don't suspect anything, especially when this retired state trooper is saying, yeah, no, he just kicked him by accident. No, it's nothing. So that's who we were up against. And I don't live in $1 million home. So it's whatever. It's like they judge you.
I do, but it doesn't look like that in San Jose. $1 million, 1.4 million.
Everything's expensive, so yeah.
Yeah, 1.4 million is a shack over here. So
when you say FYI, if shit, you buy a house out here for $1 million, I'm tempted to go on the market right now, but we're gonna we're gonna get too sidetracked. But yeah, $1 million home out here. Listen, you're better off renting. Don't even do that shit to yourself. Don't even do that shit. Leave the state and then go buy $1 million home in Texas or some shit. Don't do that out here. Don't do that shit in California.
That I'm like, I wonder what it looked like. Anyway,
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though.
Shout out my Californians.
Yeah. So,
all right, so yeah, good old boys clubs happening. It sounds like here.
Yeah, I mean, they hear, oh yeah, I'm a retired cop in a big house, and they think like, yeah, nothing weird's happening here.
And everybody in that house, excuse me, had master's degrees and one
With
thing.
that confrontational mouth of his, he will not do well in prison. Listen, Seamus. Shout out Seamus for that comment, man. I'm a pin that shit. This is what I was saying for his trial. Listen, this guy is not going into no protective custody. Even if he wanted to, I don't think they would put him in there. It's just not. What's up, Marlo? It's just not. He's just too strong of a man. And two, he's not going to get put in PC. He's not a bitch. They're not going to put him there. They only put bitches and chomos in fucking PC. That's just how it is. Paul Ferguson, for example, he's a bitch. He's going into protective custody. That's just the way the world works, A guy like Chris, in Gen Pop, either one of two things is going to happen. He clicks up with a white supremacy gang and they fuck with him, or two, nobody fucks with him because they find out his paperwork. They don't fuck with him because he kills kids. And the whites, the blacks, the Hispanics, everybody jumps on his ass. And I think the second option is what's going to happen. The whites, the blacks, the Hispanics, the Asians, you don't know where it's going to come from. One day it's just going to be like 40 of them right in his fucking chest. And that's just going to be it for Chris. And we're going to see it on the news. Chris Gregor stabbed to death in prison. It's going to be a crazy breaking. I'm not putting this out there on him. Godspeed to him, to his journey. But I'm just saying that it's a very likelihood of an outcome. That's very likely to happen to him.
Or another. So, of course, nothing could be happening there.
I think he's going to
Right.
unalive himself.
So I just want
Hold on, pause. I think he's going to unalive himself. He seems the type. Nah. Who said that? Lumi? Nah, I don't see it. He's too much of a dickhead. He's too scary to do that anyway. You need to have you need to be a different type of man to go ahead and do that to yourself. He's too much of a bitch to do that. So I wouldn't put that. I wouldn't even say he'll do that. He too scary.
I want to say something because I've been waiting to say this for 3 years because I haven't been allowed to talk about this because the trial and everything. But Chris's personality consists of, I have a master's degree. My dad's a retired state trooper and I was a teacher. Like, that is his personality. And that's all that came out during the trial was like, oh, well, he's smart. He has a master's. His dad's a cop,
And she does drugs.
Like,
he's smart. His dad's wealthy. They wouldn't do that. And she does drugs. That was the entire fucking argument. That was the whole court trial. What else? Did he say anything? I was trying to really give defense a chance. And I was listening to him. I was like, all right, let me open up. But basically, she sucks. She sucks. She sucks. She has a drug problem. I'm really thinking she possibly could have done it, even though there's tons of evidence proving that all the damage comes from the man's side of the issue. Yeah, she sucks and she could have done it. And it could have been sepsis. That was the entire defense. That shit is crazy. And he expected that to work. He really was just getting that money. He was like, fuck it, we're going to lose. We're going to lose in a bang. We're going to go all out.
Really, they act like that's their personalities. It's crazy,
It's sad.
Yeah, those top three things, right? That's their personality. It's who they are. It's how they love. And I did want to ask you one thing. What do you think? What is your response to the sentence, to the verdict? He hasn't been sentenced yet. Yeah, I just want you to make sense of it on the verdict. We know he didn't get the murder charge, and you told me why. So if you could just tell me what you thought about the verdict.
Yeah. So for first-degree murder in New Jersey, it has to be, he did it with intent and knowingly, like he went in and said, like, I'm going to do this, to Corey today. And the aggravated manslaughter, he just did. I don't know what the exact definition is, but it's like he kind of like accidentally almost killed him.
Right.
So I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
like I wish he could get life. I want him to get life as long as possible. And I think he's the most vile human being. But at the end of the day, I truly don't think he meant to kill him. I think he was doing what he normally did. He was abusing Corey, and he was just more mad than he has been because it was all coming out. It was about to come out that he was abusive. So he couldn't control his anger.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, thank you for that. Sentencing, I believe, is August 2nd at 1:30, so we'll cover that. And I think he's going to get, I believe, is August 2nd at 1:30, so we'll cover that. And I think he's going to get the max. Personally, I don't think that judge took too kindly to that. So we're praying that he's.
I always love when the judge speaks because the judge always seems so nonchalant and like he's just there. And then when he says something at the end, he really, I mean, he said a few words already, but he really leans in during sentencing. So I'm excited to see what the judge says.
He's going to get the max. There's 30 and 20 on one.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm going to be writing, a statement and asking for the max. And there's a few others that have had issues with him, ex-girlfriends that he abused that are also going to write in and ask for the max because he's not going to get out. I mean, in 40 years, how old?
He's 32 now. So.
If he gets out when he's 50, 20 years, whatever, like he's going to hurt and kill someone else. I can 100% sit here and say he will.
Corey wasn't the first child he abused, and I won't name that child or the mother because I don't think it's fair for me to put that out there. But course. Chris had an open DCP&P case when he came into Corey's life and got the visitation and stuff because I call it an interview, but I was asked to go over to the Gregor's house in July of 19 prior to them meeting Corey.
See, Rebecca Micciolo, 45 days to appeal, and it's already in the works. Yeah, of course. I mean, but you can rest easy. You can go to sleep. And, I mean, you can at least rest easy on that part of things that no judge is going to fucking, like, there's nothing's going to happen. It's going to fall on its face.
Didn't want to see Breanna, but they invited me. And, so I put a bunch of pictures together. I thought they'd want to see pictures of Corey from birth to, current. And, when I got there, it was basically an interview. David Gregor did all the talking. If Chris's mother spoke, he put his hand up to her, like, wait a minute.
Yep.
Didn't allow her to really interact with me. And one question always stuck out in my mind, and I never could understand why he asked me this question. But David Gregor said to me, do you guys have any DCP&P involvement?
What does that mean?
I looked at him and I said, well, no, I didn't understand the question really, why he would ask me that. But we found out later that Chris had an open case for abusing this other child that lived in the Gregor home. And that girl had to pack up and leave to make that go away.
And, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
to that person who asked that question, like what? About an hour ago, they said, I wonder if the Gregor family knew about his lies. Listen, a woman and her son living in their house and him beating the son. And then they kick her out and make it go away. They 1000% knew what he was. Another YouTuber was like, why don't you get him a dog? Or a chameleon or something and see if he kills that. Then see if he abuses that. Then give him a child. Like, don't just give him a child. You already know that this is like your son that cannot control anything. It's something about the kids too. He just likes beating the kids up. They knew that before this child even came around. Then they're just gonna throw him into his arms. Like, all right, you have Corey now. This is your child. Be a good father. You already know he's a fucking psycho. Be a good father, son. This is yours. You made this. Be a good father now. Fucking dumbass.
And you didn't know that.
I mean, if he gets out, he will do it again.
God forbid he has another kid. Oh my, I couldn't even imagine.
Well, let's say he gets 50. Let's say he even gets 35 years, God forbid, because there's 30 on one and 20 on the other. If he gets max, it's 50. Let's say it's even cut in half
crazy.
of that,
That's
25, 30. He's still going to be 57 to 60 years old. So if he gets a max at 50, he'll be out when he's around 80, 75, 80 years old. So that's what we're praying for. And that's what we hope the judge reviews everything and is able to see that, because we know the jury wasn't able to see everything.
Yeah. So he got to see almost everything. He was, that they came with. The jury didn't get to see like everything, which, was really upsetting. I think the video where he's basically, pulled over 2 days after Corey passes, and he's like acting like nothing happened. And he's just like, Corey's mom, she's a dirtbag.
Yeah, the lowest form of dirtbag or something.
And it's like
projection.
2 days after Corey passed, I'm sitting here planning his funeral and calling the cops and, just losing my mind. And he's in Tennessee getting pulled over, and he's on video just like acting like it was a Tuesday,
Of course.
That should have been shown in court. I think that was, odd. It is odd. And yeah.
I think they didn't show a lot in court, but you're telling us the things that really happened. And I want people to know. I took a couple notes from yesterday just so you can address. Can you address the 3 hospital visits?
Yes. So there was a few incidences, I think. So March 20th was the beginning of. So, the prosecutors explained it well. They said like it was just a chain of events and everything was just getting, whatever. So on March 20th, I took Corey to my father's in Pennsylvania. It was his birthday. It was around his birthday. So I wanted to celebrate with him. And from Pennsylvania to New Jersey, it's like from Barnegat where he lived, it was like an hour and a half. And then you add traffic. So I ended up dropping him off 2 hours late. But throughout the whole day, I was texting Chris, like, I'm going to be late. I'm sorry, whatever. We're with my dad on his birthday. So then I dropped Corey off. And Chris told me he was at the clubhouse working out. And then I come to find out he was never there. He walked up as I was pulling up. He went to the gym to do what he did to Corey. He wasn't there working out. Have you seen him in that clip? He wasn't working out.
No, he's chunky.
Yeah, he wasn't working out at that time. So
And I did find that kind of weird. If you go to the video, I'm not going to play it, but if you ever go to the video, you'll see him go to the corner of the room and he'll like curl a weight like 2-3 times. He doesn't even do a full set. He'll be at like 4, and he'll be like, yeah. And then he'll kind of walk around, he'll curl the other side, then he'll come back to Corey. The whole plan today in this gym, like when he takes him down there, is to fuck with Corey. That was the whole plan. Valerie, that was Chris's dog. And I'm seeing in the comments, you guys are saying he even abused his dog. And I mean, this is telling. If you ever see your 6-year-old, 7-year-old abusing animals, you might want to check in on them, on their mental state. Because, that's just one of the indicators. And you see your fucking grown-ass adults still abusing animals, and it's just like, why the fuck would you do that? Come on, bro. Just people who, like, it's a certain type of person who would just walk up and kick a dog, or, like, just do something malicious to animals. It takes a certain type of person. I'm not saying that all these people are murderers and crazy, but for the most part, they're pretty fucked up in the head.
Happened. I had no idea about it.
What's up, Cassandra?
I had no idea about the video until 3 months after he passed. I had no idea about there was even a video, but I knew that the incident happened because Corey told me.
Right.
So then there was like one more time where Corey and I were on Skype, and I saw like a mark on him, and I was like, I'm calling DCP&P. This is bad. It's getting very out of hand. Like, of course, all of it was bad, but it was just getting very, like, I could feel that it was getting bad fast. Like something was going to happen. He was getting too ballsy. I don't know another word. Like he was getting
the abuse was getting.
It stacks up. Yeah, it starts to stack up, right?
Yeah, it was getting worse
internally.
And worse. So then,
but DCP, they sent you all around. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sent you all over.
Okay. the day, April 1st, I picked up Corey from the police station because Chris didn't want me to come to his house. And I took Corey to the pediatrician. I made the appointment because DCPMP told me that, his bruises need to be evaluated. And I agreed because they were horrible. Like, he had this huge bruise over his heart. And, that's a lot. Like you told me, like, that's too close to his heart. And it's bad.
It was bad. It wasn't just a surface, bruise. It was a hard hit. You could tell, you just having 4 kids and just being,
It's not, none of his bruises ever. This is what I don't get about, DCPMP. They never, like, none of the bruises were just like, oh, on his knee, it's a scrape. It was like black eyes. It was busted lips. Right. It was bruised, handprint bruises all over his body. It wasn't, skin knees. That's understandable. But when you start getting black eyes, there's a problem. A 6-year-old.
When Corey would come here, it got to the point where we wouldn't want to ask him about anything because he didn't want to tell. So the way we would get to check his body for bruises, I'd say, oh, do you want to take a bubble bath or something? And I guess it was the Sunday before he passed, I believe it was. I had him in my bathroom and I put him in the tub. And
what's up, Elizabeth?
I never reacted to the bruises because Corey would get upset. But inside, I'm like, oh, my God. So I said to Bree, he's got one on his chest. It was huge. It was kind of raised up a little bit still. On his sides, he had what looked like to me that somebody grabbed you from the front, your thumbs in the front and all your other 4 fingers around his waist in the back. He was just covered in bruises. It was hard to look at. And I said to her, you got to do something. And after the bath, Corey would get in my bed and we would have snacks, watch movies, and we would talk. And he would say to me, this wasn't the first time, but he said, Gma, how come my daddy won't go to hell? Ooh. And I said, he will one day. Oh, wow. And,
wow.
Wow. And a kid saying that, that's not even sarcasm. He genuinely wants to know. That's crazy.
Don't get upset. It's fine.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
There's a lot of grieving process. Maybe you could take over a little bit, Bree.
Yeah, I don't know what she was gonna say because I don't know the conversation.
I'm good. So that night he said.
Then this was not long before
5 days before he passed.
This is 5 days before he passed.
He said, "Does God see what's happening to me?"
Man.
Yeah,
And I said, yes, he does. I said, but right now God has somebody else that needs him more. Because he said, well, why isn't he helping me?
And you don't know how to answer a kid.
And I just, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. And I said, he will. He just has somebody else that needs his help a little more right now, but you'll be okay. And, I said, let me send a phone with you. You can hide it. And he said, Gima, I can't do it.
Nope.
He knew that if he got caught with a phone, if he yelled, if he screamed for help, he got beat more. And that's the weekend that Corey wrote on our sidewalk. He was writing with chalk and he wrote, I died on our sidewalk the Sunday before he passed away.
Yeah, Corey,
he knew.
Knew. Like, I don't know what I believe in. I don't know how spiritual I am, but Corey knew that he was going to die
and
somehow.
And he accepted it. He was brave. He was strong. Yeah. He knew.
Yeah. He was, his birthday was in less than a month. I was trying to plan his birthday and he wanted no parts in it. Usually he'd be like, I want this toy. He didn't want to plan his birthday party.
He knew.
And it was weird. And I'm like, and then the night I'll get to the hospitals because I know you asked me and like we're way off, but,
no, do it. Say what you need.
Yeah, at the hospital the night before he died, he was asking me, what does God look like? What is God, what is heaven like? And I'm like, I'm like, stressed out. I'm tired. I was like, I'm not sure, Corey, because I didn't know, like you wish you could go back and change your answer, but I was like, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know how, but he knew that this was going to happen to him, whether it was Chris threatening him or Chris telling him, I don't know.
Crazy how he knew. See, I feel like Corey had a different, he was actually living it. So he knew how bad shit really was. He knew how bad shit actually was. You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of scary how he was asking. Like, man, if my kid was asking me those questions, that shit would be. I would be like, what the fuck is going on with you? Like, what's going on with you, bro? I don't know. I keep saying I would have just took the kid. I see it a lot, but it's like, why give him back? You know, that's the like. I mean, fuck, man. I guess you have to. And then the way they explain it, it's not like, oh, I could just take the kid and not give him back. The way it's sounding, it's like no matter what they did, he was still gonna get returned, and he was just gonna be even more angry when the kid comes back.
Well,
But
maybe he was hurting inside too. I mean, he had to be hurting
yeah,
inside for a
maybe.
while, and also taking the beatings over and over.
What's up,
Some
Lori?
children, just and they are closer to spirituality when they're children. Just
Yeah.
I believe that. My
Me
daughter
too.
tells me that all the time. She's 9 and she says that she hears like spirits around and she tells me these weird things and I'm like, I
Yeah,
believe kids are more susceptible to the spiritual world.
I agree.
So,
Yeah. So the hospital, I was going from, so the pediatrician, I was sent there by DCPMP. It was his normal pediatrician. I made an appointment with her. That's what the caseworker told me to do. And then she was like, this is concerning. She did testify in the trial, Dr. Deacon. She said, this is concerning. Let's go get some blood tests and x-rays and, go over to Community Medical Center. It was down the street in Toms River. So I went there. And then they told me that, the caseworker from DCPMP called me and said, we don't have a child abuse expert that works there. We're not connected with this hospital. So we want you to go to Jersey Shore. So I gave him the phone to a doctor or nurse, and they were like, okay, we can transfer you over there because transport, I'm sorry.
And this is where the fuck shit starts. Oh, we can't do that at this hospital. Go at that hospital. No, no, we don't. I mean, it's like, bro, the kid has bruises. We don't need a fucking expert. Like, bro, iPhone picture, send it there. He's fucked up. Can we not take him now? Like, I don't understand how it's not just A equals B. They like, there's always paperwork. You know what I mean? Everything is like, no, but you gotta do this, and you have to see this person, and that person has to make an official. We've gotten to the point to where there's so much regulations to where the kid just stays where the fuck they are. There's so much paperwork. The caseworkers, quote unquote, overloaded. That's what they like to say. Oh, the caseworkers are so overloaded, but they probably are with bullshit paperwork.
And I was like, no, I'm gonna get my car and drive. Like, I don't want to do that, whatever. And it was just gonna be quicker. I'm so late to dropping Corey off. It was late. So we headed over to Jersey Shore. We did everything. He got his test. He was fine. Everything was normal. But the basis of the story is that I didn't just go in, hospital. Like, I was being sent to different hospitals.
See?
So,
Paperwork.
It wasn't, if I would have stayed at Community if it was my choice, but they wanted me to go to Jersey Shore because there was an expert there, apparently, but they didn't end up actually being there.
Straight bullshitting, bro. This is the paperwork run around. They don't want to do nothing. So go here, go there, go here. Go.
Well, I just wanted to clear that up because you've been clean since February 2021, and people were saying, oh, she was going to different hospitals to get pills or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's not the story. So I wanted you to explain that you went because I'm just going to call it CPS because I get it wrong. Child Protective
CPS,
Services was sending her place to place to place. It wasn't because she just was for no reason, people.
Yeah, it's
and
amazing
then also
things people come up with. You're reading these things. This is my life, and these people are like, this is what happened. I'm like, are you sure? Because I don't think so, and I'm Breanna. So
and it pisses me off too when they say that. And then the other thing we were addressing was the bump where someone was like, oh, she was doing drugs while she. So
I wanted to address that. No, so. In Mario, whatever his closing statement, he wanted to make me seem like I was, the worst person in the world. I was the biggest drug addict. So he made it seem like that I was sending messages and texts to my ex-boyfriend.
Well, hold on. It definitely landed for me. It definitely sounded like she was trying to get something. But let's hear this side of the story.
Corey was in the hospital, which is not true. It was around 11 a.m. and Corey went to the hospital around 3. So I didn't,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Chris
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
call me and say Corey's in the hospital, or I'm taking him to the hospital. Then I said, oh, can I have some drugs? That wasn't it.
Right.
And I made sure that he knew. I didn't end up doing it that day. So no, I did not relapse that day.
Thank you.
But yeah. So
Makes sense.
I just wanted to clear that up. But there was people that were saying that, even people that are on my team, I work with a lot of different kind of people and advocates and things. And I was like, no, that's not how it went
no,
down. So I just,
he
anything
had
else.
me read it in court, and it was 11 a.m. It said it right there. But he's allowed to, for some reason. I guess when you defend someone, you can say whatever you want. So he would just mix everything up.
Yeah,
he would lie about it.
Because he had me thinking she was. But from the start, the way I heard it, when I heard it, she just was looking for some drugs after she dropped off Corey. Not obviously not when he calls her and says Corey is fucked up. That's crazy. But I didn't even get that. I just found it weird that he brought up her drug use during a kid's case who got murdered. Like, I wouldn't even really go there if it had nothing to do with. I feel like all her drug usage didn't really have, like, we didn't see her day-to-day life with the kid. Okay, but from the evidence, drug usage and the kid didn't seem like she had much. There was not much correlation in terms of like not taking care of him, neglect, anything like that. So why bring it up? He was just trying to, he was trying to smoke screen everybody.
And he can say whatever he wants, So that's what he ended up doing. So tried. that happened in the morning. Good job, and he's saying it happened when Corey was in the hospital, and that's not true.
All right. That's the only thing. Anything else you have to say, yeah, go for it. Just wanted to clear that up.
I'd like to add something.
Please.
2018, the DUI where you picked him up.
I don't know.
One of Chris's arrests, he got a DUI in Flemington. He drove the car into a retention pond or something, and he was under the influence. He had hypodermic needles, I believe it was. That's how I read it in the police report.
That's one thing I want to mention. This guy is Breanna's this, Breanna's that. He used drugs more than I did.
Okay.
What?
Let's talk about it. Yeah. Let's talk.
We didn't even hear any of that.
No, you're not allowed to. You can only hear about my past. Chris's past had nothing to do with this trial. That's
But even though he's the one that took his life, so we didn't hear any of that.
He gets this fair trial, and I feel like it was my trial at one point.
You were on trial.
I was on trial.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
Holy,
So anyway,
but they were trying to blame
for being under the influence, and he calls Breanna, I guess because he felt like we lived near where he was or whatever. So I wake up the next morning, and again, this big asshole's at my house again. I can't get rid of him. And
sorry,
3 or 4 at this time, and Chris comes downstairs and sits on the couch. So me being me, I said, well, let me go make breakfast. When you have a guest, that's just how I am, And he wasn't interacting with Corey. And that pisses me off, because anybody that comes to your house and you have a small child, I don't care if it's the mailman, the UPS guy, you talk to that child, you interact with them. He ignored him.
What's up, little
After
guy?
he left, I called the Gregor household, David Gregor.
This is when they found out, actually, I
think when they actually found out. So I called, and David Gregor answered the phone, and I said, hi, my name is Breanna Micciolo. And I said, I don't know if you know. I said, but your son was here after his DUI. My daughter picked him up, and they have a child together. Do you know that? And, well, I don't understand. And Christopher, that he's in college and he's this
master's degree.
And, I don't understand this. I said, well, I'm here to tell you, Corey is here. He exists. Your son was just here. I don't like how he was ignoring his child. And I just thought you should know. And do you know what, David Gregor, that man that got on that stand, and some of you people felt sorry for him. People were feeling so bad for Grandfather of the Year. Do you know what he said to me? Why wasn't that kid aborted? And that's what that son of a bitch said to me.
All right.
And
so,
nah, you could curse on YouTube. That's what the son of a bitch said. He's a bitch ass. Yeah. So again, the theory that it was only to make the family look good, that's a very strong one. Like, oh, take care of your child because now he's fucking 6 and There's nothing we could do about it at this point, so make us look good. Don't beat him up, son, like you beat up your other girlfriend's child and your dog and everything else you fucking come into contact with.
He didn't cry. Bullshit.
Yeah, no, he didn't care for him.
No, he was full of shit, and he made his son the way he was. Oh, he's in college. He couldn't have got somebody pregnant and raped them at that.
Yeah.
He didn't do that.
That's kind of the place where a lot of that shit happens. So what was Gregor doing? Like, he couldn't go to college and get anybody his age because he was probably too much of an asshole. So what does he do? He goes to the little 16-year-old who don't know no better. That's a very college dickhead move.
Yeah, does he even know that? I mean, it came out later, but I wonder if he even knows that, or he probably just thinks you're lying anyway.
You wouldn't believe that.
I mean, they knew of the age gap too, and I remember one time I was talking to David, and he was saying like, you got, even with the age gap, and so he definitely knew about it, and
Right.
you wouldn't a cop, retired state trooper, think like maybe that's a big age gap for that age,
I think it was all about looks for them. It's all about looks for them.
Oh yeah,
the house they live in, what they are.
That's why they had to like get rid of me, take Corey from me because I wasn't up to par.
Yeah, you didn't fit the ideal of what they wanted for him.
Wow. Those people are scum. I know that. And I saw right through grandpa and grandma how she couldn't testify all of a sudden because she heard something. I've seen that play before. Went one too many times. She saved herself from being on the stand.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, she wasn't able to take the stand because Chris, they had a phone call right after there was like the hearing.
A profit hearing, they call it, without the jury present.
Right.
Yes. So Chris called her after that and tried coaching her.
Yeah, I know. It's a tactic though. That's a tactic people use. And it got out, right? It's just a tactic. I'm not saying this time it was, but a lot of I've watched thousands of trials and people they do that so they can get out of it. So maybe he didn't want her on the stand and he went to coach her. How'd they find out?
Maybe that was. I didn't think about that. I thought he was just too stupid to realize. But maybe he was like, Mom's just going to fold under pressure. We don't really want Mom saying too much, so I'm just going to call her. But I don't think he's that smart. But then he did have a high-powered lawyer, so maybe he just told him, like, yeah, call your mom and coach her for a little bit, and she'll get X'd out of the trial. That's a good idea. I never thought of that.
They find out that
I believe they were listening to his phone calls because of the attempt on your life.
Oh, yeah. So. I didn't even get to that. Yeah. So... it was about a year ago. No, not like it was September 2023, I think it was. We had a court hearing in Ocean County for Chris, and then the prosecutors took me back to the office to talk to me. And I was like, okay. So they were like, just don't freak out. I want to tell you something. I'm like, okay. So Chris tried to get someone to kill you. From jail. That's what they told me. That's how they said it.
Well, yeah, he had been.
Hey, thank you, Christine, for the membership. The
Breanna killed.
Shout you out, man.
Yeah, and then that's when they do record all phone calls in prison, but I think they started
listening into his calls.
Yeah,
you're right, because sometimes they don't catch it right away, so that makes sense. He was in prison coaching his mom, and then that makes sense.
Man, we need to get those jail phone calls. No, that's a fact, people. It'll take some time, but we'll see if we could get them.
Whoever he was trying to get
I have a few people who said they're able to do really good FOIA requests, so we'll see. I want to see. We never got to hear what he was talking about. I don't even know what his voice sounds like for real. We need to see what's going on with that.
This person to do it, rather than out.
I think they went. And
they told the police or the prosecutor's office, and that's
Thank God.
They started listening.
And then
what a piece of shit!
For like 2 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had to have a cop outside of her house, and so of course we're paranoid because, and I'm asking the prosecutor and the lead detective, well, how did they say how they're going to do it? Like, what are we looking for? What should we be looking out for? Because you get paranoid,
Of course,
and they said they didn't know, and so you're walking around and you're wondering, every person that walks by, is this person here for you? And
even paranoid. Now I'm scared because he just found out. that, you know, he's guilty of aggravated manslaughter. That's not a few years. That's a long time.
Yeah,
it is. Both charges are a long time.
And I'm thinking, I'm like, what's stopping him from trying again? And I'm like, I've never seen someone so obsessed and hateful towards me, like someone. Like, he hates me so much, and I don't know what I've ever really done to him.
You had a
I
baby.
think it stems from that rejection back in 2013. I really do.
I believe so too. Can you hear me okay? Someone says I'm on mute, but
I hear you.
okay, good. Then they just need to turn their thing up. Yeah, I think it does stem from that. And you could have filed charges and you didn't. You could have ruined his life back then. Not that they would have believed you, because that happened so many times and his dad was a cop, but you could have filed a charge against him. And it seems like nothing. He was like the armored man. I don't understand why we didn't hear any of that he was had needles in his car, doing drugs, DUIs, other marijuana business. How come we didn't get to hear he put a hit on you? We didn't hear any of that.
I know that because his dad is a state trooper. He got him out of a lot of trouble. Like, he never got convicted of any of these crimes. He has all those charges in Maryland, and they just all got dropped or disappeared.
You say no to someone who always gets his way? Kinda. Pretty much. But you can still bring another, I feel like, can't you? You could still bring another case against someone who's already in jail. I mean, it happens all the time. You catch cases while you're doing time. I mean, shit. Let's go again type shit. Now everybody's looking at you as this type of person. Now, if you have any type of evidence, and I don't think there's any time limit that really elapses where you can't have a case against him, but give him more charges. Shit, make sure he stays in there. That's what I would say.
Disappeared, and then, you know, he got the DUIs there. You can't find that on his record because David Gregor wiped everything clean.
That's crazy. Well, we didn't hear half of that either. He tried to. They couldn't get it into court. They probably says, "Oh, it has nothing to do with the case, and we got to keep it in the all the legal jargon."
Exactly. It was very upsetting because, like I said, in court, I couldn't, when I was testifying, I couldn't say a lot. I couldn't tell them what Corey said to me, and you know, the doctor wasn't able to say, "This is what Corey told me." They're like, "Well, you can't say that." And then the videos like that I have, I think you might have played it in the beginning. That wasn't that's in Corey's own voice of him saying, you know, he is choking me, he is doing this, and no one can hear that. You know, it's hearsay. How is that hearsay?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, how is that? Yeah, they did call it hearsay, didn't they? That's not hearsay from somebody that's passed and was telling you.
Exactly.
What's up, D?
Hearsay, my ass. Yeah, the legal system. It doesn't work.
Yeah, there was a whole video. So it's like, here, boom, evidence. Child speaking. I don't want to back it up because I'm gonna get lost. But it was like somewhere early in the stream. Make sure you guys go check it out. But there's a whole video recording where she's asking him questions and he's responding, bro. It's like, damn, like if that's not proof enough, and you can't bring it into court, that's crazy. Now, I do understand why they probably didn't go into his past, because he has the right to testify. And then if he does want to testify, then you can ask him all those questions. But since he didn't, then it's like, you know, you can't really ask him anything.
It doesn't work how it's supposed to. And we see that with you. I did an interview with a gentleman last night that couldn't keep composed. He has to see his daughter. She was from New Jersey, and there's an open casket for 3 days. And it's the first time he's seen her since she passed. They didn't even call him. And he was fighting for her like you were fighting for Corey. He almost couldn't contain himself in the video. I felt really bad. But he wanted to be heard. He didn't know where else to turn to.
Yeah, we didn't get to see Corey until his funeral either, because Chris wouldn't tell Breanna what hospital he went to, and by the time we found out, the detective said that we couldn't go there because Corey was now evidence. So we never got to see him until a week later, at his funeral. And then we get there and we find out that the Gregors got to have their own viewing before we got there. even though they didn't pay for it or plan it, they got to have a private viewing.
And I think that's because the funeral director was an ex-cop.
Yeah,
he
was the ex-chief of police of the town where the funeral home was. So I'm most certain how that phone conversation went. And when I called him out on it, he said, "Oh, well, you know, Becky, my hands were tied."
And we told him when I went and, you know, had to go pick out his casket, I had to do all this stuff. I told him what happened to Corey. I said, this guy killed him. And at that point, Chris was in charge, but he knew. I told him. I was like, he didn't just die. He was killed. And by his dad. Do not let his dad in this funeral home. Do not let his dad see him. It's disgusting that he would even have the opportunity to see what he did to Corey. He has no right to that. And
they did.
Yeah. And of course, he didn't get arrested for months later, and then he tried to flee, right? Anyway, yeah, I want to make sure that was correct because they say a lot of different things, you know.
Yeah, so he was charged with child endangerment in July. And then the medical examiner, you know, had his death as undetermined. God knows why. I mean, whatever. But then they got Dr. Andrew, and he was able to determine it was a homicide. Thank God for him. Like, he's my hero, as well as Dr. Feingold. She was amazing. Yeah. So and I talk about one more thing, like in public, about Dr. Bodden. I
yes.
I'm like,
please.
I don't know. I feel like what happened was with him, because I don't think he's he doesn't know what he's doing. You know, he obviously does.
He's a very smart man.
Yes. I think
he is.
Mr. Galucci, Mr. Acquittal, not anymore, but I think he.
Hey, thank you for the gifted, Carmela.
Gave Dr. Bodden the evidence he wanted him to see.
That's exactly
to come up with that conclusion. Because if he saw it all, he would have said the same thing as everyone else. So he gave him this little snippet and was like, yeah, that's what it was. So I don't think he was lying. I don't think he did any. I think that's really what he thought with the evidence he had.
Right. It's like you were listening to my video yesterday. Yeah. That's exactly what I said. Oh, okay. You probably weren't, but that's exactly, I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what I said Dr. Bodden did. They only gave him snippets, because you could hear when they asked him, did you see that? No. Did you see that? They gave him exactly what they wanted him to narrow in on so that he could say, and then they paid him, $500 an hour and said, you're only allowed to have this many hours to look at this, and you have to determine it as this. So that's how it works. I don't think Dr. Bodden's a bad man, but I'm glad that you said that, because it's like.
But Dr. Bodden also has a history of like going to these trials and doing shit like this. So I don't know. I honestly, that was like the last part of the trial, and I was like, do I want to put this on my channel? And I was like, nah, I don't want to watch this shit. I genuinely just didn't want to watch that shit, because I remember I saw him on some other thing, and I saw him as a joke. I don't know what it was, but I think I saw him testify somewhere, something like that. Ever since then, he was a joke to me. So I was like, nah, we're not gonna. I was like, I didn't even watch that shit. But as the way they're talking about it, it was probably comical the way they thought they were gonna do something with him. Like, bro, what are you gonna do with his opinion? Like, I don't know. Just saying. Everybody's saying he's seen better days. He needs to retire. I mean, honestly, my ass would be on the cruise ship or on the jet planes in Paris eating some fucking baguettes and shit. Like, I wouldn't be doing this shit. Come on. It's like, bro, go have some fun.